grandfather plays, my grandmother plays, everybody in my family plays an instrument or sings or both. And I started traveling and playing with my dad when I was 14. I started playing guitar when I was 9, and started singing when I was around 14. And my dad had a spot open in his band, and so he didn't even know I could do what I could do, and so I joined ranks with him, and literally been doing it ever since.
We're having a ball with it, matter of fact. I'm gonna play a song off the new album. This is a song that my daddy hit me up. He said, "Son, won't you write you a good old Southern rock song?" So I said, "Okay, let's see what I can do with that." So this is what we come up with. Paying a little homage to some of our heroes. This song's called Southern Rock and Roll Revival. It goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
As a guitar player from the South, of course, I love bands from the South. Leonard Skinner, Southern rock and roll, ZZ Top, 38 Special. And what's funny, Black Oak, Arkansas was always a band that they were one of the top bands of the 70s, and now I go out on the road playing guitar with them some. And on top of playing with there was a funk band out of the 70s that couldn't be more further than from Black Oak, Arkansas. I mean, that is like light and dark, completely different bands, you know, and of styles, everything. And so I get to play with those guys some. The first show I did was my little garage band with, that's kind of a funny story. I grew up in a small town of 3,000 people, and me and some buddies that we had our little garage band, we got up and played a song, and we won $100, you know, won the contest or whatever that, you know, little towns have, and it was kind of neat because my wife was actually there and saw me play the very first time I walked on stage. She was out, you know, she's from that small town too, and so she was out there. It's kind of a neat deal, you know. Well, Mark Tree, Arkansas is where I'm from, but Mark Tree is a small town. Even when you're in town, you're in the country. But I was about 10 miles outside of that town, and as a songwriter, it's kind of like my never land for Peter. That's where I go when I write songs. It's not a fantasy, it was a real place. And there wasn't a lot to do out in the country where I grew up, but we had this levee that we would go out on, and whether we were having, you know, parties with friends, or whether we were just kids growing up running down the levee swimming, or if we were hunting, you know, that's where my dad, you know, my mom would let my dad out on the levee, and he would roll down the levee with his gun like to kill geese like he was a sniper or something. Yeah. I was with my best friend in a hunting accident. A guy shot him and killed him, and I don't know. I went through a lot of depression because of it. I was a kid, you know, not knowing how to handle something like that. And years later, it kind of attacked me. I kind of crumbled under it. But music has been my therapy since I was a little, as it is a lot of people's therapy. And so I wrote a song called "Fly," and it's just about losing someone, and the comfort of knowing on the other side that you know, we'll be with them again. And for me, that was therapy. And it's amazing when you write a song like that how it affects other people. You don't even realize it. It's, you know, but it's a pretty amazing thing, you know. And so I became the funeral singer after that song. I sang that at a lot of funerals, but it's you know, to see people use that as a song to represent someone's life, what an honor, you know.
No
the bass player and I in the band that I play with, Dave, he and I have played together since 1994. And then our band, we broke up in '99, and then a few years later I took a job as a music director at a church. I was there for 12 years. Well, then I also had a full-time job. Well, Dave and I were doing acoustic gigs, ironically, on this stage, and my daughter was little, she would come sing. And so I'm building more and more things to be doing all at one time. And so I'm working a full-time job, I'm directing music at a church, and I'm traveling as a musician. So there was a lot of times we would be here in Fayetteville 6 hours away from my church, and we would leave at 1 o'clock in the morning and hold our eyeball open to stay awake to make it back in time for me to do my job at my church. Because each job for me I was equally as passionate about, and so anyway, it was tough, but I did it, Yeah, Madison was born, and then Brennan came, and so I had 3 kids on top, so I had 3 children, and a wife, and a married life, and a family life on top of trying to do everything. And I don't know how I did it either, but now I have become nothing but simply a worthless musician. No. There's worth in this. I'm very proud, very honored to be able to do what I love, and now to be playing with a lot of the people that I grew up listening to. Never dreamed I'd be on stage with a lot of. Biggest, you got your things like sleep. I mean, there's times we're sleeping in McDonald's parking lots. There's times it's tough. There's times you take 3 guys, which I mean, luckily we're only 3 guys. If you had 4 or 5 or 6, then you've got more opinions in the band. And the good thing about this band, I will say, is we all know our part. I'm in charge of writing songs, creating the music. I'm kind of in the delivery room while Dave, our bass player, is promoting, doing the whole Facebook thing with the business, a lot of the business side. And so we all have our own role in this, but there's times that we get on each other's nerves, or sometimes you get aggravated. The best way to handle it is just do it with love. It's with any other way, And you take 3 men. Sometimes that's kind of tough to do, but being gone from the family, that's another thing. That's a tough thing to do, man. I miss my little boy right now. You always, when you're coming home, Dad, or and there's a lot of people that make a living out on the road. Whether it's, my wife, she sells seed, farm seed. Our whole territory is the whole state of Kentucky and Tennessee. Well, she's gone sometime during the week too, but you make it work. You understand what each other's dreams are and what each other love to do, and you make it happen. But I guess the toughest thing for me is I take this music for me, and the guys I play with are no different than blood brothers. As a matter of fact, I'm with these guys way more than I am any of my other family. And so there's a brotherhood that's like no other. And we lost our drummer not too long ago, and that was tough, man. I mean, he was more than a brother to me, and so you just make him a part of. Matter of fact, his name is Chris Wilmuth. We called him Bam Bam. So we named our first album that came out in 2014. We named it Bam in honor of Bam Bam. That was amazing. I kept going back to see the movie, and my wife's like, "You've seen it. Why are you going back?" I'm like, "Because this might not happen again." But I also had, I have some songs that have done well as far as being a writer. I wrote a patriotic song called "God, Family, and Country," and a country artist named Craig Morgan, famous country artist, he recorded it. He and I wrote it together, and with it, to hear people, people have loved ones that are across seas fighting for this country, and they come home and they talk about whether that song helped them, or how it affected them. It made me feel closer to my loved one, or what. And you can get awards all day long. That's neat, but when you're affecting human lives, that's it. That's what it's all about, man. That's what music is for, and to do it in a positive way. That's I live and breathe to do that. To be a guitar player is one thing. We're a dime a dozen, and that's great. I mean, I express myself with my guitar. Songwriting has become such a part of me, and to be able to say the things that people are feeling. I recently wrote a song called "This Killer You've Created." It's on our new album, and it's about PTSD, our soldiers who come back. What's amazing And I'm just a vehicle in this. You know what I mean? I never look at myself like, yes, I did this or I did that. Very humble. I just want to be able to write something to help somebody, that's all. And to write a song like that, for example, you know, I've had some vets come to me and tell me how, you know, you said what nobody else is saying. Thank you for saying that. You know, I don't want to put a filter on what I do because it's not radio friendly or anything. And I'm not talking about explicit lyrics. I'm talking about saying things that need to be said and, you know, that these guys are going through that nobody's saying. You know, everything I do and I don't want to get away from it. You know, even in the songs that I sing that may be about other things, there's still that gospel feel. You know, another thing too, we're from the South, man. We're from the Delta. We're from the Bible Belt. All of the, you know, whether it's Christian music or whether it's any other style of music, it all came out of the church. It all came out of hope. Memphis music, where I'm so proud to be in the, you know, we were all raised in the shadows of that, and now we're a part of it. We've been accepted in the Memphis community. There's nothing that, I love it. I mean, Memphis music was born out of those, you know, out of the fields that people worked in, or out of the, you know, the hard times, and when there was nothing to give each other but music and food. I mean, nobody had money, you know, but they had songs, and they could sing them together and lift spirits. And it was, you know, Mavis Staples, even out of the 70s, that came out of Stax. When Mavis sings, her voice is just the voice of hope to me, you know, and so what are we without hope, you know? For me, more than anything, when it comes, you know, certain things, when it comes to being on stage, I hope people were able, like I said earlier, to forget their mess for a little bit, because we all have it. It's there. And whether I'm singing a song about enjoying yourself or singing a song about, you know, a spiritual song about a higher power, God directing you through something or helping you through something, I want people to be able to get away from their problems, and because it's always there, and to be able to come back to them fresh, man. I mean, that's what music's always been for me. I've been through a whole lot of stuff, and you have too. We've been through a lot in our life, and music for me it was always that thing for me to be able to escape all those problems. I knew they were there, but I think part of the reason I may have become whatever musician I am today was because I was able to turn those things off, and my vehicle I got in was music. And to be able to give that to people, what a blessing, what an honor.